All right, we are live. Best option to get out of negative equity. Marv, thank you for the lightning bolts. I appreciate that. The best option to get out is either to pay more towards your car or lease something that can be deeply discounted, right? Leasing where it can be deeply discounted is kind of the cheat code. Gentleman Tech, I'm well aware of the video that he posted, buddy. Anyway, that's a conversation for another time. But leasing is the quickest and most efficient way to get out of negative equity. Tyler, what's going on? Really good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. How are you? Alan has a 21 E63S looking for something new. What are your suggestions? You got a really cool car that there's nothing quite like out there. The new E53 is really, really hot. I would look at that. I would definitely encourage you to look at that. Bizzle is in the market for a 1996 Plymouth Breeze, as one does. I mean, that is a hot car. That is a hot car you're looking for there. That is a hot car. Deeply discounted options in MB. Well, the EVs have great programs, and plug-in hybrids now have great programs. Because the lease cash, the $7,500 federal tax credit that gets applied as a discount or a down payment on a lease is now $11,500, baby. It is big time. Big time, big time, big time. So that is, those deals are just crazy right now. Do I miss Jared? Yeah, sure. I mean, I miss Jared. Jared's a good dude. We had a lot of fun, but he's on to something that makes him happy, and so I'm happy for him, right? What percentage of people have negative equity? I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, you know, those generally make for the more entertaining videos, so it probably seems like more than it really is, but you know, it's just, we're in a period of negative equity because of what is happening with the markets coming out of the COVID era. You know what I mean? You're talking about a market that was so elevated and then came back down to earth so quickly. Why does the lease on the G580 still run so high? Well, they're $180,000 cars, right? They're expensive. They're G-Wagons. They're not, and they really, other than the lease cash, they're not incentivized like other EVs. So I would temper your expectations if you're expecting G-Wagons to have crazy lease payments like the other EVs. I would just tell you that I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect that to happen, and I wouldn't necessarily wait around for that. Let's see. Bexy, it is kind of wild. If your loan doesn't approve, they call you to bring the car back. But who does? Not us. Need a GLC lease deal, one out of a C300 2019. All right, let's talk. Natalie Hopkins, hello, how are you? Bean Bandit, hi, how are you? Rob, hello, can you use the $11K off as a down payment? Yeah, it can be a rebate, it can be a discount. It works all in the same way. There's no advantage to a down payment over the same amount of money in the form of a discount, right? It gets your net cap cost to the same number, right? The amount of money that you're borrowing is the same. But actually taking it off the selling price is always my recommendation, because that lowers the amount of taxes you're going to pay, right? If you use it as a rebate / down payment, then that gets taxed. The process of buying a car in America is wild. In the UK, you have to wait at least a week to pick up. Oh yeah, no, Josh, it doesn't happen like that here. You can take it home the same day. So it sounds more like kind of buying a house over there. Marv, thank you for the rose. I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who's hanging out today. I appreciate that. Ronnie, are you hiring? Yes, we are. A lot of different job postings that we have. If you go to my link in my bio, you can see all of those. There's a link that will take you to our listings. Natalie, your mom has a B&B car, and for some reason her brakes are always squeaking. The B&B car, is that a Mercedes? Is that what you mean by that? What was the increased credit you mentioned, Trev? That is the $7,500 lease cash, which is really what that is the federal tax credit on EVs and plug-in hybrids that you can't get on a luxury car anymore if you purchase. But on a lease, the way the previous law was written allowed it to be captured in a leasing scenario, and the manufacturers gave it in the form of a discount. Well, Mercedes has increased it from $7,500, and they've added on top an extra $4,000. So it's now $11,500 that you get off of any EV or most of our plug-in hybrids, right? Some of them don't apply, but it really just helps because they want to get these cars on the road before the end of September, when that tax credit goes away entirely. Will EVs go extinct now? No, they won't go extinct, but definitely manufacturers will pull back their production on those, and you're going to see it really go back to more of a market approach, right? How many people in the marketplace want to buy those cars? So I think that it's going to be very interesting to see, but I think it'll be a good thing. You look like Woody from Toy Story. Okay, Woody from, there you go, there's a new one. Normally I get Bill Nye, a lot of bow tie jokes. Oh, Tony's got jokes. What traits do you look for most when hiring new salespeople? We look for curiosity, good question asking, able to have a conversation. Curious people make the best salespeople. Curious people make the best salespeople. And people that are good at staying busy without being told to do something, right? So you can kind of tell if somebody has that or not when you're talking to them. Coach, not really a minimum credit score for leasing Mercedes-Benz because it really goes more off of your comparable auto history. So if you're over a 600 and you've got some credit history and you don't have missed payments or late payments, then you should be in pretty good shape. But comparable auto history is the number one thing that means the most. Angela's amazing. Yeah, Angela's awesome. Have you worked with her? What should I eat for lunch? Great question, Bambi. I don't know. How about a cheeseburger? When is Julie going to get the new Mercedes Star brake lights? 2027. Yes, you got it. Okay, and I just joined. What can you tell me about someone by talking to them? Well, you can just kind of tell what their personality is like, right? If they ask questions, like if I interview somebody and I ask them at the end of the interview if they have any questions for me and they don't have any questions, that's a bad sign. Okay, that to me tells me that it is not a naturally curious person. And if they're not going to ask me any questions in an interview, then I'm certainly not going to expect them to ask any questions to a client in a selling situation, right? So the questions that are asked are a big one. Are they able to wait for their turn to speak, right? Sometimes people are very excited and they will cut you off in an interview. And if that's happening repeatedly, then it tells me they're going to do that with clients, right? And in sales, it's a lot of listening and less talking. So if you can't wait for your turn to speak and you just cut people off all the time in a conversation, that's not a good situation. I wanted a Mercedes, and I know there's an Uber and a military grant as well, right? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you're military, then there are incentives that apply to you for being military, if that's what you mean by that question. Can I lease a GLE 450 with a 650 credit score? Probably. It just depends on what is making you a 650, right? If it's just maybe a little bit of higher credit utilization, or maybe some things in the way past, then you're probably going to be in good shape. But if it's slow payments, missed payments, collections, that kind of thing, then you might not be able to. The Civil Pulse, I'm in Cleveland and I want an EV. Use Mercedes EVs are cheap now. Yeah, look, if you buy one that's 3-4 years old, those are crazy good deals. Go ahead and buy one. But if it's newer or new, you got to lease it. That's the only option. Robert, which salesperson gives you the most aggravation when they are working their deals? Well, that used to be Jared. I don't really have anybody right now that fits that criteria. They're all doing a good job. Will dealerships hold trade-ins to be applied at a later date of purchase on a new car? Yeah, most will. We will, right? If you want to pre-trade a car, and we'll keep that tax credit on the books so that you can lock in the highest possible trade value now, and then we'll apply it on a car that comes in later in the year, for example, if you're waiting for a custom build. Is it better to buy a lease or a Benz if I have a business? It's better to lease or buy depending on what kind of car buyer you are, right? If you get a new car every couple of years, you lease, always. If you keep cars for 6 years or longer, then buy, always. What kind of characteristics, lifestyle attributes do you see in someone who leases a car versus buys? I really wouldn't say that the only thing that I typically see is, well, actually, no, this isn't true. So it's really hard to differentiate between the two because most people who buy cars shouldn't be buying cars, and they act as if they lease. Like they buy cars because they have been taught that it's bad to lease, and then they're just trading in for new cars every 2 to 3 years anyway, which is leasing, by the way. So there are very, very, very few people who buy cars and actually keep them for long enough to justify buying the car. Okay, so if you keep it for a long, long time, then yeah, you buy it, right? That makes sense. If you do not, if you get in a new car every 2, 3, 4 years, then you should be leasing. That's just the reality of it. When do you have a GLE 450 or G580 800 credit score? Why the GLC 300 Coupe a lot more than the regular GLC 300? Ken, that is because those are very low production models. They are not incentivized. They're low production. They're more expensive. They're more value. They hold their value better. And Mercedes knows that people will pay more for them, so they just don't lease the same. You're talking about a core model, which is GLC 300, versus a specialty model. So specialty models rarely will have those incentives. Jata, hello, hello. Thank you for sending love. Does the EVs have bumper-to-bumper warranty? So our EVs have the 4-year, 50,000-mile comprehensive warranty. That covers everything except for wear and tear items like tires, brakes, windshield wipers, that sort of thing. And then they have a 10-year, 155,000-mile warranty on the battery. So I would say that's very comprehensive coverage. Did you sell the rose gold G-Wagon? I have not checked in with the pre-owned team to see if it has sold yet, but I do know that they have significant interest in the car, and it's only a matter of time, I am sure. What is the cheapest zero-down lease right now for Mercedes? Probably an EQB. EQB would be the least expensive. What would be the outdoor price on a new C43 Coupe 4MATIC? So they don't make C43 Coupes anymore, Big Dom. That would be Sealy 53 Coupe would be the closest thing that we have to that. Why does the GLE lose value so much? I got a GLE 63S 150K with tax. Yeah, so any AMGs like that are going to lose value quicker because of the type of buyers that buy them, right? People who can afford to buy a $150,000 car either want it brand new or they want a deal, right? They don't want to pay 10 grand less than they can get a new one for. They'll just buy a new one. Donald?
So, Osmond is here.
Okay.
Harmony Wholesale. I've been talking to this guy online.
All right.
And he was to call me because he was out of town, and he never did, but he just showed up.
Ah, there you go.
But doesn't have to trade with him.
Love that.
Now he did an online thing, which is pretty far away. So I asked some questions. He has his app with him on his phone, so I got the miles and stuff. I said I really need to see it before I can put a real number on it. I can give you a tentative number, but he did an online. It's shown him.
He's got bad Carfax?
Yeah. And he might have put that in here.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So that's what it showed him online. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I just want you to take a peek at that.
Where did it sell? That doesn't make sense.
What?
Even if you took bad Carfax and all of these things out, you wouldn't get to that number. Where did that number come from?
It's in store estimate. If you pull up, I'm not. It's his estimate. I don't know where when they go on Roadster. So I sent him numbers on a white over Carolina GLS that I have here.
What do you mean in-store estimate? The only thing you can
Not
do is
in-store
go through
estimate.
AccuTrade or...
It was populated in Roadster when I pulled it up. It said.
I think they can go in and they can like put what they think it's worth.
Oh, then yeah, don't worry about that. It's not him. It's Steve Hyman.
No, I know, but I'm just gonna... Let's see. No, this is...
So he might have, but it's irrelevant regardless, obviously, because
Well, I just want to understand
how
what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can value your trade or you can just add a trade
Okay.
and you can put in whatever number you want, but that doesn't make it true,
No, of course not.
right? So if he did it through AccuTrade, unless he totally misrepresented the car the first time he put it in,
Carfax was before he bought it, but that's irrelevant. He bought it certified pre-owned, and
it has 19-inch wheels or 20-inch wheels.
20, decent build.
Black, driver assist, multi-contours. Yeah, so pretty loaded for the time. That
Yeah.
was the pre-AMG days.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's really nice, it might be worth a little bit more, but I'm at 30,400. All right, so do you need me to edit anything?
Yeah. Throw it in the mix there.
Okay, Osmond. Alex just put down a deposit for a GLC 350 on an amazing deal at your dealership. I worked with Amra. Awesome. Congratulations, Alex. I love that. So that would be over on the used car log. Oh, Jared. He said this is the first time he's ever seen you.
Who?
There's the Jared Williams. There's
the Jared.
Handsome Don Laporte.
What's up, Jared?
We call him the Silver Fox around here. All right.
Now, there's a caveat to this: is he can't buy a car for 2 weeks because he's closing on that.
Well, then why are we appraising his car?
I told him, I said, by the way.
This is an exercise in futility, my friend.
Yeah, I know. He said this value will change by the market changes by the day, by the week. So the number, and by the way, I'm not looking at your car right now, so that's also going to change. So.
What are we even doing?
I mean, I could have just sent him home, but he's here, so I said I'll do a tentative. I said, but I'm going to put on this paper that this is subject to change. He already understands that, but.
You know as well as I do that people conveniently forget that time has passed.
I read it on this paper. He was on the phone too.
There you go. Dex, that better? Kevin, you all right, buddy? You have an issue? You spelled your name wrong.
Thank you.
How much is a GLE 63 for lease? I haven't looked in a little while. I'd have to pull one up and check. How much does an accident impact the Carfax if it is repaired? So the accident itself has an impact on the Carfax, but really what it comes down to is the fact that now follows the car for the rest of its life on the Carfax. And when people shop for used cars, and this data came right from cars.com, 50% of the time they click clean Carfax only. So the problem with cars that have been in an accident is not whether or not it was repaired properly. I mean, that could be a problem, but let's say it's repaired perfectly. The issue is still that 50% of car shoppers shopping for a used car will never know that that car is for sale. And then on top of that, you have to figure, if I had 2 identical cars and they were identical in every way, and one of them had been in an accident and one of them had not, the one that hadn't been in an accident will sell first every time if they're priced the same. So how much less does the car that has been in an accident have to be for somebody to consider it? So you couple that with the fact that 50% of car shoppers will never even know it's for sale, and that's why bad Carfaxes and accidents on Carfaxes have such a negative impact. So when you can afford to pay out of pocket for an accident repair, it's wise to do so, because even though it might be maybe $1,000 or so more than your deductible, going through insurance will maybe save you $1,000 now, but it will cost you $3, $4, $5 later, depending on the car that you have. So, Leo, my wife bought a GLE 53 AMG, and I'm looking to trade my M4 competition for a GT63 coupe. Very nice. I like that. Would love to help you with that if you're so inclined. But great car. GT63s are wild. David, will used EV prices increase with new EV prices increasing due to the loss? Yeah, David, I think it's fair to say that once the tax credits are gone, that market will probably stabilize and values will probably come up, because it's a supply and demand issue. Once supply goes way down, then eventually the values will start to come up. So interesting that what we're seeing right now is EQS SUVs. The production has been scaled back so severely on those cars that there's actually so few of them on the new car side available that they are significantly more valuable than they used to be. But I ran a locate the other day. There were 28 in the country. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, a couple years ago. So when you have too much supply relative to the demand that you have, that's where incentives come from, right? Because people need an incentive to buy it. No different than if you're sitting on a stack of wool sweaters in June and you're a clothing store and you really want to sell them, well, you're going to have to give somebody an incentive to buy a wool sweater in June because they don't want it, right? That is the whole concept there. But if you only have one in June and it's a pretty cool sweater, then you might not have to do anything because somebody might see it and be like, well, it is June, but I do like that sweater, right? So that's kind of how that all works. And so because we've seen that production on the EVs has been drastically scaled back, the volume is starting to get really, really low. And then at that point, the people who do like those cars will buy them, and they'll end up having to pay more because of it, because prices will come up. Steve just got an EQS from John. He was excellent. My wife can't wait for delivery. Yes, Steve, congratulations to you. I think we've been arranging that. Hopefully you will have it here very shortly.
What color is it?
What's up?
What color is it, the one he's got in?
Hold up.
Because the brown one's leaving right now.
I think it might be the brown EQS, yeah, for Steve. Let me confirm, or it might not know. He is getting a gray. Oh, no, he's getting the Alpine Gray EQS 450. So Steve, funny that you should be in here. You're exactly the example that I'm talking about here, is that when we were working your deal, we were looking at some other potential options that were out there in the marketplace, and that's when we discovered that there were practically no EQSs available anywhere in the market. And we had one of 28 in the country, which is wild to think about. But I've had no short of 10 dealers try to trade for that car for me, even though it's tagged with customer information on it. People keep on asking for it. So is the C300 going to get a facelift in 2026? No. Next C-Class facelift is when, Colin? 2027 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2027. Jared needs the value in his EQS sedan to go sky high so he can get a G580. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Mercedes equivalent to the Cayenne GTS. That's kind of a tricky one. That would probably still be, somewhere in between a GLE 53 and a GLE 63. I don't know that we have a direct competitor to that, because the 63 compares more to the turbo, and we don't necessarily have a GTS comparable. Buying my wife a new car in the next week or so. She's trying to decide between an EQB and a Model Y. What are the pros of the EQB over the Model Y? Well, that's just going to come down to personal preference, really. If you want to go with the Tesla, Tesla's got some really cool technology that they can put in their cars that legacy manufacturers cannot for regulation reasons, but fit and finish and some of the safety features of the cars in the Mercedes, I'd have to give them the nod there. So it just comes down to personal preference. There's no right or wrong answer. But thank you to everyone who is hanging out today. I do appreciate it. If you could all, please hit the like button and the thumbs up button. That helps me out a lot. I really do appreciate that. And if you're not following already, would love and appreciate a follow as well.
Can you tease me what I made?
What? Yeah, I will. Does EV tax credit apply to pre-owned? There are pre-owned credits still available for certain cars, but not any of the ones that we're talking about here. Thank you for hitting the like button. And Bat Dad, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. You think EV sales will drop further with the EV tax credit gone? I think there is going to be a rush on EV and plug-in hybrid sales from now until September because of that free money. And then once it's gone, yes, sales volumes will fall, but production will fall as well, 100%. Benz Bolton, the 11K rebate on the hybrids and EQs is phenomenal right now. Big savings. I agree, my friend. It's been gangbusters here. We've been selling every one of them that we possibly can. I mean, it's just been nuts. It's been nuts. Colin, I just teamsed it to you. Okay, buddy?
Sold 1, 2, 3. We sold 4 today.
Another 4 today.
So we sold 2 GLCs.
No, 3.
3 GLCs.
3
350
GLCs.
plug-ins and then 1 GLE 450 plug-in.
Yep. So another GLE 450 plug-in today. 3 GLC 350 plug-in hybrids. We've sold. I'll tell you how many we've sold so far. It's been nuts. I mean, just this week alone, since the announcement, it has been absolute gangbusters. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have sold 12 between GLE 450 and GLC 350s. We've sold 12 just since Monday. So it's, I'm sorry, 13. We're going to run out of these before end of the month at this point. What's the average lease on that GLE hybrid? Well, it's such a hard question to answer. I feel bad not answering it, but it's just, I don't know where you live. I don't know how many miles you need. I don't know if you have a trade. I don't know if you're going to put any money down. We did one lease with some money down that was under $500. We've done others that are closer to $1,000 with some negative equity. I mean, it's really an impossible situation to answer, and I don't want to be like the national lease specials that people see and then get angry about because they're just misleading, right? There's a lot that goes into it. Steve, how is the AMG E53? How are incentives? So, Steve, that gets the lease cash. It gets the $7,500 lease cash. It's not enhanced. There aren't any incentives outside of that. EQE would be much better incentives.
There's a trucker here pick up a Mercedes CL, no VIN, no nothing else on the dispatch sheet. And then
Hold up. What?
here's the door or what is it?
There is a.
Door Trucking LLC. It just says CL, not even CLE.
Well, with no information, we cannot release that.
Yeah.
That is not okay. So, yeah, they told this is a dealer trade, but Freedom Auto Transport is who's supposed to be picking it up, and this is very clearly not that. So know that until, we can't release without a VIN and proper information, and the dealership that reached out to us sent us a different trucking company's name.
Okay. Alright, I'll let them know.
Man, transport fraud, it's been crazy. What would you recommend for a second car that's fun to drive and has good deals going on? Probably not an EV. Does that probably none EV? Probably not an EV. Can you guys do no interest financing on used cars with a big down payment? You can do no interest financing. I mean, what's up?
He'll be back after the approval's done. I told him, this is very tentative. I gotta look at your car and bid it down for him. So as soon as he closes on the house next week, I'll probably easy to bring it in.
Okay. All right, cool. Look, there's no such thing as 0% financing. It's just the rate is being bought down. We can do it. Mercedes-Benz Financial will do that, right? So we can calculate the interest, and then we can just add it to the selling price of the car, and you can have a 0% interest loan. So Huntington will do that as well. It is possible to do, but just to be clear, there is no such thing as 0% interest loans. That is either a bought down interest rate or a form of an incentive, right? That's why when you see manufacturers do 0% financing, it's always 0% financing or $5,000 off, right? It's one or the other.
You got me a picture of the build sheet, but still, it's the
doesn't
wrong
matter.
trucking company. Okay.
It's not on the dispatch, and yeah, we can't. They sent me information yesterday of the trucking company that was going to pick up, and it's not that. So for liability reasons, we can't release it.
Understood.
Are sales down right now for SUVs? No, they are way up. Anyway, Nathan, we do still have the Stronger Than Time or Diamonds G-Wagon. I do believe it's still available. I am going to hop off. Got to wrap up my day here and get going. I do appreciate everyone being here. Thank you for everyone that hit the like button and the thumbs up button. Thank you for everybody that is a new follower today. If you're not following already, please follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I really do appreciate everyone being here. Thank you for the roses, by the way. Nice little 100 gift rose. I love that right at the end there. Appreciate it. A lot of real fun comments over on YouTube today. That's been great. Justin, love you too, brother. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate everyone being here, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Comment, yes, we do have a sprinter division here. Feel free to reach out. We'll get you connected. So have a great weekend, everybody. Talk soon.